Hello everyone, this is Bunnie Faery, and today's episode of Devil's Advocate is all about Endora from Bewitched. Why? Because Endora was right about Darren and I don't care what anyone has to say about it. We all know Endora. She's Samantha Stevens' mother in Bewitched, a powerful witch, someone her husband, brother, and nephew don't get along with. Because to them, she's too much to deal with, so much that her gross husband has an amulet to control her. No wonder he doesn't want to live with him anymore. Besides his obvious unfaithfulness, that his daughter sees nothing wrong with. She's a good mother and grandmother. One thing she's not is a nice mother-in-law to what's-his-face. But are her actions against Darren justified? Does Mother know best? Throughout the series of Bewitched, we see Endora not only being against her daughter's marriage to a mortal, but also testing him to see if he's worthy of her. While he passes the faithfulness test thrown at him by Endora, he is not a faithful husband whatsoever. He's rude and cruel to Samantha and the children. I know what you might be thinking. How is he cruel and rude to Samantha and the children? Darren is a lemon. He's super hostile towards Endora. He doesn't want any of Samantha's family in the house, but wants his parents in the house whenever they show up, even though his mother has shown to be unkind to Sam on occasions and enforces her wants upon them, like the time she made Samantha get a maid. He even used a pendant that belonged to Samantha's father to control Endora, that Samantha so happily cheered him on for. He got offended that Endora gave her own daughter a gift, because he assumed it was made with magic. Later in that episode, he realized he was wrong for his behavior and actually apologized. Durwood is against Samantha's heritage and birthright and wants Samantha to do everything he says and wants. He has implied/said in more than one episode that witches couldn't do anything without magic, insinuating that they are useless without it. Like when Tabitha was learning to play the piano and was ice skating and made Sam learn from scratch to prove whether or not she really could. And of course, Samantha just went along with it. When she was chosen to be Queen of the Witches, he wanted her to reject it, and because she couldn't, she only did a one-year term, while all witch duties had to be put up until after Durwood went to sleep, because it bothered him. Something she had always dreamt of since she was a small little child, as most witches did in this universe. And when she was finally given such a wonderful opportunity, she was forced to give it up because of her useless husband who just wants to have control over her. He truly doesn't care about Samantha. There was an episode when her powers could have been taken away from her forever, and he's acting like it upsets him because magic is a part of her and who she is as a person. And yet, when they got house locked because she barely uses her powers, and they were told she needs to use her powers more to prevent that from happening again, he gets annoyed, not even wanting to allow her to use her powers once a week, even though they were literally told that if she doesn't use her powers more, they're gonna get house locked again, and they won't be able to get out of their own freaking house. But he doesn't care. What's-his-face is unfaithful and a bad husband and father. There has been more than one instance in which Darren has been shown to have cheating tendencies. In The Crow of the Cawdor, I think that's how it's pronounced, this is demonstrated the best. Samantha finds out the crone has set her eyes on Darren and wants to steal his youth so that she can be young again. She deceives him by impersonating another woman whose looks she stole. Samantha pops in on the two of them, and Darren gets angry with her, not wanting to hear her and accusing her of spying on him. And to get back at her, he decides to kiss another woman to teach Samantha a lesson. That's when time runs out for the crone, and he sees an old woman instead of the young woman he was talking to. Samantha forgives him. In another episode, a neighbor moves in, and at first, Samantha is friendly with her, but starts to get jealous. During a dinner she had made for her husband and for her, a special day dinner, I think it was an anniversary, they hear a crashing sound coming from the neighbor, and Darren asks what that's about. When Samantha explains, another crash is heard and Darren leaves Samantha behind to check on the neighbor, who was perfectly fine, just as Samantha had told him during her explanation. Another occasion is another neighbor he gives a lift to. They are heading the same way anyways. When she gets off the car, she kisses him on the mouth and he says nothing. He just smiles in the direction she left and walks to work, never telling Samantha. When in Rome, he checks another woman out in the most indiscreet way possible, in front of Samantha and Endora. Endora is rightfully upset about it, but Samantha excuses his behavior. In early season 1, we meet his ex-fiancée, who kisses him on the mouth. He tells her he is married and she tells him that she knows and invites him and Samantha to a get-together, which he accepts. Once they get there, she kisses him again in front of Samantha and he says nothing and walks into that woman's home. Sheila proceeds to separate Darren and Sam, having them sit at different ends of the table, and she proceeds to try and demean Samantha and try to make her feel small. Darren is silent through all of this, but when Samantha has had enough and uses her powers to inconvenience the woman, Darren reprimands her that even though she deserved it, Sam had promised not to use her powers anymore. He has disrespected her on many occasions, not defending her when his ex was clearly attempting to humiliate her, only being okay with Sam using her powers if and only it benefits him. In 2 occasions, he heavily insinuates that not only is she uncreative, unimaginative of a person, just because she thought up an advertisement idea that he considered good. Why? He was struggling to come up with what he considered a good idea on his own. In one of the occasions, and the other, it was a direct competition with him. The other was a competition thing she just happened to win in hopes of winning tickets to travel with him, that his mother convinced her to do, by the way, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, he accused her of using magic on both occasions, and it wasn't until her ideas were rejected by the clients that he decided to believe her. He also decided to quit just because Larry, his boss, offered Samantha a job. He also expected her to apologize for using her powers and denying it, and he didn't want to apologize until after her ideas got rejected. As far as I've seen, he doesn't help around the house. He does everything in the house, and he doesn't even want her to use magic for housework. He basically wants her to be his unpaid living maid, chef, and nanny. If it wasn't for her family, he'd had even more work to do around the house, all while being constantly scolded for using her magical powers that she was born with. Even though she does every single thing alone, without magic, even if he's not around, as to not offend him, only seldom using her powers, if ever. This part is very sad and terrifying, and also it involves sexual harassment. So if you want to skip, just go to this part here. After they left the building at night, Darren had to go back to get something, and Samantha got sexually harassed by a drunk man. She used her powers to defend herself so that he would leave her alone. It was just a bucket of water that she poured on him. Darren sees her using her power and scolds her, even after she tried to explain what had happened, and he said he felt sorry for him. Not his wife, who was just harassed. No, he's sorry for the drunk man that was harassing his wife. This wasn't the first time something like this happened either. He turned a man into a dog because he was coming on to her, a client of Darren's, and he was upset with her. I think eventually he did grow a brain and got mad at the guy at the end, but that's too late. Imagine being mad that your wife defended herself against a man that was harassing her. He would rather have his wife harmed by men than her using her powers to defend herself. Now on to the next chapter. Subpar parenting. He was disappointed that his children were born magical. Samantha even chastises her daughter for using her powers and doesn't want her to learn anything magic related because Darren wants normal children. Darren didn't want Tabitha to go to witch school to master her powers because he doesn't want her to use them, but he also doesn't want her to attend a regular mortal school because she doesn't have full control of her powers and she doesn't know when to use them, and has Sam homeschool her, and it wasn't until they were forced to let her attend school that she was able to go. Endora gave Tabitha a gift with magic, a gift of knowledge, because Tabitha was feeling insecure about her intelligence. so he had to go take a test to see what grade she could go to. Darren got angry, and Samantha does what he wants. So Endora got rid of the knowledge she had given Tabitha. Thanks to her terrible parents that were homeschooling her poorly, because Darren didn't want to put her in a normal school with normal children, because she has powers and that makes her abnormal. Endora saved Darren. Endora has protected Darren more than once, even saving him from death at the hands of her husband. And how does he thank her? Simple. In later seasons, Samantha tells him about an amulet her father has, that he has used in the past to control her mother, and she hands it over to Darren. Endora isn't perfect either. She is also bigoted, but mostly towards Darren and his mother. He doesn't seem to have a problem with any other mortal, unless they are messing with her daughter and grandchildren. Even Serena is very protective of Sam. She turned a woman into a chimpanzee because she wouldn't leave Darren alone. Like she flat out harassed him and was trying to force herself onto Darren and would not take no for an answer. And Serena saw all of that. He didn't like it and turned the lady into an ape. Samantha changed after being with Darren. And even Serena comments on how Samantha used to be fun, but stopped since being with Durwood. Endora had every right to hate Durwood. He is a bigot and doesn't respect her daughter or people in her family, or her people in general. Forcing Samantha, yes, forcing, to comply with his whims and way of being, and not wanting her to express her heritage and culture, or to even teach it to their children. Acting like his children having magic is the most disgusting thing ever. Talking down to Samantha to the point that even she starts to lower herself to make him feel better. What parent will be okay with seeing that happen? Why wouldn't Dora be okay with seeing her daughter, who was born to ride the winds, born to fly and be all things magical, have her wings torn from her by a man with a fragile ego? It's okay if Samantha wants to learn to sew, that she wants to learn to cook, clean, and to do all these things manually, because that's something that she genuinely wants to do. She wants to be more human. But it is not okay that she is expected to do everything manually, when she can just twitch her nose. Even if what's-his-face isn't home, he puts off house maintenance to the point that she has to do it, and then he gets upset about it because that's a man's job. He demeans her, insults her intelligence, and also the intelligence of all the witches, and insults her ability to do anything without magic. He resents her, and quite frankly, I would even go as far to say that he hates her. It's okay for her to use her powers for him when he commands her, but not for herself. It's okay for their children to learn the mortal way of doing things, but it's not okay for them to learn the witch way of doing things, which is literally part of their heritage and culture too. He, dare I say, doesn't truly love her. He has the convenience of having her. His ex is rich, therefore he probably has enough money to spoil Sam, because his ex doesn't seem the type to date broke men. How many times has he actually given her gifts, taking her out on trips? He doesn't trust her and only wants to control her, and sadly he does control her, and that's why Endora hates him. Samantha, who did not tell Darren she was a witch until after they got married, promised that she would be as mortal as she could be and not use her powers. But a loving spouse would never have agreed to having their spouse suppress a core part of themselves like that, especially when that part was tied to their heritage, their culture, and entire person, because they were literally born with it. It's one thing for Samantha not to use her powers in front of mortals. They did have a track record of attacking anything that is deemed strange, unusual, and occult. But to not allow her to use her powers in the safety of her own home is ludicrous. To make it worse, in this TV universe, this is the first witch-mortal marriage. And while it's not okay for people to look down on their marriage for being a witch-mortal one, because that's bigotry and that's never okay, it is okay to look down on this particular marriage, because when the married witch puts a fellow witch down, and said witch even tells others that the only way to marry a mortal, in this case a man, it is to basically renounce their powers, their culture, their heritage, everything magical that they are, to be able to be a true housewife, like she told her cousin Serena. Did Mother know best in this occasion? Yes. Yes, she did. Endora was right about Darren, and it is sad that Samantha was so intertwined with him to see it, to the point of lowering herself and ripping off her own wings, and also trying to rip off the wings of her own children to appease a man who thinks so little of her beautiful gifts, because he is jealous that he can't do it too. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to watch my video. Leave a like and leave a comment. Subscribe if you want to. If you have any characters you feel like could fit into the Devil's Advocate series, please do feel free to mention them in the comments as well, and I will get to it. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye!